doing it really good. They circulated the bylaw last year in 2016. Again, something new, but now they're doing it. Door-to-door service if we can effectively access the property and collect waste and recycling directly in front of each condo dwelling, just like the single-family dwelling across the road. Okay, that's one option. Number two, Mr. Chair, a common collection point on the private property, condo property, if we are unable to access door to door, but can still effectively access the property for collection. So we can't get it to your door, and I can think of one condo unit in Simcoe where I don't think they've told me they don't want a garbage truck, but they have a collection point. Option three, those two don't work, common collection point on the public right-of-way if we are unable to effectively access the property for either options one or two. And I'll just finish by saying, there's lots here, but each multi-residential property owner must submit an application for waste collection services. Solid waste staff reviews the application, determines the best option for service depending on certain collection criteria. And that's all explained in a guideline called Guideline for Collection on Private Property. If the application is accepted, then they go on with setting it up. So, Mr. Chair, I hope there's support here. I think this is something that's due. I think it's fair. I think people are already, how's it going to be paid for? They're already paying for it. They're just not getting the service. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. We now have a motion. We now have a motion, and I will ask the speakers, will you be speaking to the motion? Councillor Black and then Councillor Geisens.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. And I will not be supporting the recommendation, the motion on the floor. I think anything other than the status quo is opening up a huge can of worms. Condominiums are a special and unique type of development that offer benefits to a more controlled lifestyle, and it's done through condominium fees. Anyone that purchases a condominium property knows through their real estate agent, knows through their lawyer, because there is a document that is attached to the ownership of a condominium that states clearly what the condominium fees are and what they include. So if you talk about fairness, then it's not fair that those people that have purchased condominiums with those agreements in place, which include garbage pickup, now those costs will be shifted over to the rest of the people in Norfolk County who didn't make that agreement and who do not have that lifestyle and have not bought into that lifestyle. So I guess what's fair for one isn't fair for another. And Mr. Chairman, when it comes to taxes, as we all know, are they fair? You know, I have people regularly say to me, well, I don't have any children, so why should I be paying education tax? I don't have any children, and we don't use the recreation center. And we don't use a whole bunch of other services because, we've never had a fire. So, you know, we don't use that service. So why don't we start rebating all of these services that people don't use? And then we would be fair. And I guess saying that, and I've had a lot of people say to me, well, you know, why don't I get a pick and choose menu, just like my TV now, where I can pick garbage pickup, or I can pick just one bag, or I can pick the use of, and pay only for those services. Believe me, I can see the expression on the treasurer's face right now. Nightmare. So this is what I'm talking about, but when I say we're opening up a can of worms. And when we do this, You're going to see a lineup of people at the council chambers doing the exact same thing. It's just not fair. So is it fair that commercial people and industrial people pay just about three times more than residential people? They don't, and the commercial industrial people, they pick up their own garbage. So they're paying three times as much for less service. Actually, commercial and industrial pay more than residential people for education tax. You know, and how is that fair? It's not. You know, and is it fair that agriculture only pays 0.25% of the residential rate, which actually equals some $12 million subsidy? So when you talk about fairness in taxes, I don't know if it's really fair. We collect taxes, you know, to provide services. We're not providing user fees here unless you're using, you know, the rec center or something like that. So I will not support this motion. I will support the status quo option 1.
Thank you. Councillor Geisens next, please, to the motion, and then Columbus.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I guess I want to understand what the mayor is talking about. He's talking about option 3A, 3B, and number 4 all together. Either you have a choice. Is that what you're suggesting, Mr. Mayor? I just want to get this clear.
I'm suggesting that those are 3 ways that would be determined, one of those 3 per condominium.
Okay.
So what I'm saying is I'm not including the bin option. I'm not including the other options that say take away what we already do for 9 of it. What I'm saying, Councillor Geisens, through the chair, is 3A says that's an option that staff and the condo people can work out to pick up on the private property at the end of each individual lane. 2, that if that's not possible, they could find a common place on private property that could be picked up, bags, curbside, or if those 2 don't work, they could choose to carry the condo, say we're going to take them out to the municipal road at the entrance of the condo, and they would be picked up there. They would only be able to have one of those options.
Well, that's what I wanted to get clear. You did say something about Oxford, and I can tell you something about Oxford, because Oxford, my brother-in-law and some other acquaintances that we know, about 3 years ago, the mayor said that they started picking up garbage in condominium corporations and everything like that. Well, there's a reason for that. Without cutting people's taxes, they decided they went for a $3, or I guess started with $1. It's now up to $3 a bag, and you pay for the garbage. That's the difference. So theoretically, if that's the case, I could that way people are now paying it. They're not paying in their taxes. Well, they were in Oxford, but if we go that route, everybody will be very unhappy. And they can put their heart, we can pick up their garbage anywhere they want. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Columbus to the motion, please.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I either need a pair of sunglasses or else that curtain has to drop.
Get closer to me.
You've seen the light,
Could we
Councillor.
hear the motion? And I'd like to ask Ms. Robinson, with respect to Mayor Luke's recommendation, what would be the number we're looking at as far as cost to the taxpayers?
Okay, Madam Deputy Clerk, I'm going to have the motion read first, and then we'll ask Ms. Robinson to answer.
Thank you. Through the chair to committee, that report PW 1709, waste and recycling collection at condominium corporations be received as information, and that the following options for service provision respecting waste management at condominium corporations 3A, 3B, and 4 be approved for implementation subject to applications made by the condominium corporations and approval by Norfolk County staff.
Ms. Robinson, first to try and answer Councillor Columbus's question about the cost implications of the recommendation.
Through the chairman to council, at this point, I don't think I can provide the exact cost associated with it. This will involve a variety of different things. Condominium corporations actually requesting it. Some condominium corporations may choose to continue to dispose of their waste in the current fashion and may not avail themselves of this. The second issue is if the condominium corporation is desirous of of investigating the 3A option, staff will have to go out and to see if it's actually applicable, if we can actually do that. So until we've actually looked at every individual condominium corporation to determine what service level or which one of these options can apply to them if they wish it to be, it'll be very difficult to determine. That being said, if we assume that all of the condominiums that are condominium households that are not currently receiving service that are desirable of the service, we're probably maximum would be probably about $150,000 a year. And that would be the high end of the number, and it would go down depending on which level of service that these people are looking to receive, or not level of service, which service they're able to avail themselves of, and if they would like that service. I think the deputation this evening even indicated there are some that are currently collecting. They have bins, and that condominium corporation may decide not to avail themselves of this, and they may be desirous of continuing to just have a bin service.
You're welcome. Councillor Wells to the motion.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I must confess I came here this evening not really knowing what to do for the best. To treat all condo owners fairly. And I will say that this is an issue not new. When we were the city of Nanticoke many, many years ago, before I had white hair, the condo owners there objected to paying and not getting service. And I read this report several times trying to figure out what was best. So I want to thank the mayor for putting forth this motion. And the reason I want to thank him is I didn't have a better solution, so failing not having a better solution or a better alternative, I will be voting in favor of supporting that motion.
Thank you, Councillor. And
Point of order, Mr. Chairman.
Councillor, please.
I think our procedural bylaw indicates that outbursts are not allowed. I wondered if you could enforce that.
Actually, Mr. Chairman, or Mr. Black, I was just going to address that to the audience. We appreciate your support, folks, but it is not necessary, and it is contrary to our procedural bylaw to have either applause or booing. So please try and restrain yourselves for the balance of this discussion. Thank you, Councillor. Okay, we do have a motion. Mayor Luke, back to you, one final time.
Speak a second time, and this will be the last time I speak, I promise you. Councillor Black, certainly I understand and respect his opinion. No question, I know where he's coming from. But I do want to comment respectfully on a couple of things. This is not an issue of tax rebate. This is not about a tax rebate. If these people came in here and say, look, we pay 5% of our taxes each year for garbage collection, we don't get any, we got to pay for bins, we want that 5% rebated, I would say, too bad, so sad. You pay taxes for many, many things, and not everybody uses all of our facilities. But I'm still willing to pay for it. I still understand the importance of an indoor pool. I've never stepped foot in it. But my kids learn to swim there. My grandchildren are learning to swim there. And if I'm afraid of water, I still am willing to pay for that. So this is not in any way, in my opinion, opening up a can of worms. What the condo people are saying is, look, currently now we have to pay over and above our taxes for garbage. And we don't think that's fair when there should be a way that we can get our garbage collected and taken away like everybody else. And guess what? We've been paying for that service for years. And no, we don't want a rebate. If I decide to get together, Mr. Chair, with my neighbors and say, let's rent a bin, one bin a month for all of us and get a private contractor to do that for the next year, Does that mean because I have that contract that the county won't pick up garbage on the side of the road where I put it? They better. I'm paying for the service. Number two, yes, they signed a contract when they got into the condominium. The movement now is to realize that that's the wrong way of doing garbage pickup in condominiums. The right way is to treat them as the residents and taxpayers they are. Nobody's asking for a rebate. Number three, Councillor Geisen asked about Oxford, and I appreciate that because nowhere in Oxford's policy anywhere does it talk about the tags, and I'm sure you know, I don't know, but my motion in no way starts suggesting a $3 a tag per bag across Norfolk County. What it's suggesting is taking 33 less 9, 24 condominiums and allowing them to get the service that everybody else does, including other condos. That's what it's about. It's about whether this council wants to treat those 24 tax-paying condominium owners, not renters, owners who pay taxes. It's really about whether we want to provide and extend that service now. And if we do, then really it's up to staff to deal with the corporations to find the best way to do that service. That's their job. So, Mr. Chair, thank you.
You're welcome. Councillor Sonnenberg, I think I saw your hand, and I'll let you
Thank you,
speak.
Mr. Chairman. I will not be supporting the motion as presented. I am in favor of picking garbage up at curbside on a municipal street. The mayor has given examples of other municipalities who do that. They do not want garbage trucks roaming the innards of a condominium complex. If we are to go onto private property and stop at a person's doorstep and pick up their garbage, I want that truck to come down my driveway and pick up the garbage at my house. It's the same thing at the roadside. Thank you.
You're welcome. Councillor Black, final time.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I guess what I don't understand is if I was myself, I don't own a condominium, but if I were to purchase a condominium and I knew what the deal was, and what the services were, and what my condominium fees were paying for, I would accept that. That's the deal. Now, if I didn't like that, I would not go into a condominium corporation and purchase a property there. I would purchase a private property that provides that garbage pickup. So, and plus, if I were to have purchased a condominium property and knowing that that is the service level and that my condominium fees are going towards that, I would not be asking for the county to change that agreement. And I think the Lee Robinson, our Public Works manager, hit the nail on the head. If council really wanted to deal with this, it should be dealt with at the development stage. That this is where we decide exactly how this condominium corporation development is going to work. And to be fair to everyone, that's where it needs to happen, at that level, not halfway through. So just a further comment. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Columbus.
Mr. Chairman, we would all be more comfortable if MPAC had a separate designation for this and other services where condos do not get the same service as single-family dwellings in non-condo areas. So I wish they would come up with something, and that would solve a lot of issues.
Okay, we've had a very good, thorough debate on this topic. We do have a motion on the floor from the mayor. You've heard it. You've heard it explained and read by our deputy clerk. I think it is time to call the question on this recommendation. And that would be to receive the report that service level options 3A, 3B, and 4, depending on the circumstances of the individual condo corporation, would be approved for implementation, and that our waste bylaw be amended accordingly. I will call the question. Those in favor of this recommendation? I see 3. Those opposed to this recommendation? I see 3. You know, I feared that this could happen. Folks, I've listened to all of the debate. I have tried to stay out of it. I am going to go against the recommendation, and I realize that perhaps puts us back to square one, although we do have other options that are available to us. And I would like to have the chance to explain my reason to the audience as to why I'm not supporting this recommendation. All of the discussion tonight has centered around trying to treat all of our condo owners the same as other residents and the same as those condo owners who are receiving a service now. To me, that service is a vehicle driving up the street, whether it's a public road or a private road, and being able to pick up my recycling or my garbage at my step. And I personally am prepared to support that for condos. In other words, where our vehicles can physically manipulate the private streets of that condo corporation, I feel that service should be extended. And that is probably option 3A. But I have difficulty with the other parts of it. So that's my rationale for not supporting the motion on the floor. So, Council, that takes us back to which options, if any, are we going to try and get approved this evening? And I'm open to other suggestions. I saw Councillor Black's hand first.
Well, I'd like to put option 1 on the floor. See where that goes.
Okay? That is a motion now, and that is simply to maintain the status quo. Again, I hope we don't need a great deal of additional debate about this. We're at least getting to the point where we're trying to come up with some kind of actionable decision. Any further speakers to the motion put forward by Councillor Black to select option 1? Those in favor of that option? Okay, that I see 2, but that option is failed. Thank you, Councillor, for trying. Mayor Luke, back to you.
Mr. Chair, did you say you would support option 3A?
I did.
3A only,
That's correct.
but not 4? If they couldn't go into the condo private property, you wouldn't want to pick it up at the...
Actually, Mr. Mayor, I guess this is, again, awkward for me, but yes,
No,
I
no.
would probably support 3A and 4 together.
But not 3B, where
Correct.
a consolidated place on the condo.
Correct.
So in other words, go into the condo, on the driveway, failing that, onto municipal road.
That's correct.
Are you open for a motion?
I'm open to anything from council.
I'm looking for help here. I would then move the same motion as last time, but take 3B out of there. That would only allow 3A where staff approves, otherwise the backup would be to the municipal road. 4.
Thank you very much, Mayor Luke. Is everyone clear on the motion then that Mayor Luke has put forward this time around? 3A and 4, plus the other whereases in the original recommendation. I will call the question on that motion. Those in favor of that recommendation? Those opposed to that? That does carry. So we do have a decision, Madam Deputy Clerk, and I do stress, though, to folks, this will only be formally endorsed when council approves it as part of the minutes of this meeting this evening. Those of you that were here for this purpose, I'll allow you a couple of minutes if you wish to leave. You're more than welcome to stay in here. We have one more important deputation, but I'll allow the chamber, those that wish to leave can do so in the next couple of minutes. Oh, yeah. Yeah, who was in the back? So, ladies and gentlemen, I think we will continue, and we do have one further deputation. And Mr. John Lennox, thank you very much for your patience. John, please come forward. John, of course, is here with Dover Coast Developments and will be speaking to us with respect to golf cart crossings at Dover Coast. And John, I will remind you, you have 10 minutes, and I'll give you a warning at the 9-minute mark.
It's going to be tough.
Welcome.
Mr. Chair, councillors, and Mayor Luke, and staff. I'm here to address our concerns to the report submitted by Public Works, PW 1720. We oppose this recommendation. I'm here with our lawyer, Bruce Milburn of Schneider Rogerio, who is an expert in condo law and development, and his former life was a planner, and he will answer any questions pertaining to that in the back. Also, Tom Eichenbaum, he was a city planner with Burlington and was involved in the Burlington Golf and Country Club. He's with Hatch now, who is actually doing the design work on Highway 6 for the roundabout. And if you know anything about MTO, they don't just let anybody do their work. They pick and choose who they want, and Hatch is a very strong firm. And then I have Jason Fleury, our engineer from Development Engineering. They will be available, and I encourage you to ask them anything you want. This property was approved by the OMB in 2009 with a golf course and the blocks of residential, commercial, hotel site, and that was in 2009. If you can remember, Haldeman held us up on that and forced us to go to the OMB where it was approved. The golf course is an integral part of this development, as is the hotel site. And the hotel site, up in the far northeast corner, is where the golf club will be as well, the pro shop. We won't have a clubhouse. The hotel is going to have banquet facilities for 300 people, and that will be the center of our golf course. Well, you can be assured that with a facility like that, we can't just stop going across the roads. It's an important business decision we made a long time ago. And I should add that this style of living, we call it adult lifestyle and resort living. And this is exactly what our community is all about. The residents are active, health-conscious individuals, and we presently focus on our activities around the golf course, biking, pickleball, bocce ball, with future plans for our exercise and fitness facilities. So we're very active people. So golf is a big part of it. Now, having said that, our average buyer, and I see some of them here, and maybe I shouldn't be saying that, is about 70 years of age. Walking becomes an issue for some of them. I have submitted to you a report from Hatch, who we called on to do this study when we received notice of this report being submitted. Hatch has done a traffic study for us on this. In addition to that, I've got 15 golf courses that in the province and locally that cross roads, including, I might add, a provincial highway, Highway 21 up in Grand Bend. So it's not, we shouldn't be breaking ground here in the sense of that. So the proposal to change the municipal road, which we designed according to the county's requirements, and now are looking to change it into a private road. First of all, it's very costly. If anybody has been out there to look at this site, this is a very costly development going ahead with that municipal road. It not only has 2 lanes, we've got roundabouts to slow traffic down. We're going to have a roundabout up at the top on the highway, a roundabout that's going to go into the medical center. The medical center can also be entered through the commercial block. Then there's a major roundabout at what we call Regatta. So the traffic is going to be slowed down on its own going through there. I would just like you to consider this as absolutely an important aspect of Port Dover developments. We are going to have a major business there that could be disrupted with this kind of train of thought. So I'm asking you to support us in not accepting this and give me the rights to have a crossways for the golf carts. By the way, we've redesigned this so that if you can see there, my eyesight's not that good, but on Schooner and Regatta, we took 4 lots out of there so the sight angles would be perfect for you to see. We don't have houses there. Those are vacant lots. So I'm asking you to abide with the OMB approved. And I thank you for your time, and I will now turn it over to any questions from our experts.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lennox. I'm sure there will be some questions.
I'm sorry, one little thing. This is what arrived today from me. And this is an indication of my problems right now. It came from my wife, who's in Florida. And she said, "Have you seen this?" It says, "Good morning. You and I will probably be neighbors at Dover Coast when the land is registered and they can obtain building permits and start building. I don't know if you're aware of the situation right now and what the holdup is, but I've had my lawyer and good friend looking into this. To make a long story short, the resignation for Phase 2 has not been approved because of 2 golf cart paths that crossed the new road, Dover Coast Boulevard. There is a liability issue with golf carts crossing a municipal road. I have included the link to the document filed for tonight's council meeting. The meeting will be at 5 o'clock, and we'll have a live webcam. You can find the webcam on the Norfolk County website. If you attend, please do. John Lennox has been given time for a deputation. Goes on, the thread in it. I believe that all Norfolk Coast people, both Phase 1 and 2, need to be aware of this situation. It has caused a great deal of stress to our lives, as well as to so many others who are waiting their happily ever after homes as well in the future. And it will cause problems for Phase 1 golfers and the use of the golf carts on the first 2 holes. And then she goes on to say we should be that everybody should contact John Wells and the mayor. But the point is, they do say this is really affecting them. I have some people who are waiting 2 years. We serviced this land last summer. They keep asking me, what's going on? It's been a nightmare for some of them. They've sold their homes. They're renting right now. I've got to have this done. Yep. So I please ask you to consider that. Thank you very much, and you know who to talk to.
Thank you, Mr. Lennox. There may very well be some questions, and I will start with Councillor Black.
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. And John, I really have to thank you for the roundabouts, because I've been asking, I know it's got nothing to do with the crossings, but I've been asking Norfolk County Public Works to bring some roundabouts, and you're the guy. So thank you for that. That's very innovative. But speaking of the roundabouts, could you not use that, like I'm looking at your map and the crosswalk here, it seems like that crosswalk at the roundabout really isn't that far off. Could you not use that? Well, I think there's pedestrian walks there too. We have sidewalks on both sides of that road, by the way. I mean, and again, I point out that this is an active adult community. They will be using those sidewalks. It will be, they are active, they've got walking clubs, they're doing everything, not just golf. Okay, so, but can you use that for a golf crossing or not? I would prefer not to. It's not that good. We'd be running into... By the way, with the golf, it takes every 15 minutes you'll get 2 carts. That's all. Okay, 15 minutes, 2 carts. And who owns this road? Is this municipally, will it be dedicated to the municipality? Yes, it will be, yeah. So, okay, it's not part of all, these are all condominiums in here, would take it, or is there private? No, they're all condominiums. The only road in there that's public, the municipal road, is what they call Dover Coast Boulevard, going all the way up from 6, connecting all the way down to Lakeville. All right, and when you say... Or a new Lakeshore. OMB, you said OMB approval. Yeah. Did the OMB approval specifically approve the road crossings? No, there was no road crossing. What they approved was a block of land at the time. Okay. All right.
And so all those blocks were subject to site plans.
Right.
So even then,
Okay.
it was just every block has a site plan on it.
Okay. And then, did you ever have the idea of, is it possible to go under? Is there a tunnel that you could go under or over?
No.
No? Could you put a golf cart on either side and just so people can't drive
It was
across?
suggested that they walk the rest. Well, I've got some guys,
No,
I think,
no, you
still
pick
here
up-
won't be able to walk.
You pick up another one on the other side? No? No, okay. All right, those are my questions.
Thank you. Councillor Wells next, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. John, I think you answered it already. When you submitted your initial design and it was approved by council, did it show these road crossings?
No, it showed the block. It didn't show roads, but unless you're pole vaulting over, it would have a hard time to get across.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I'm sure it would have.
Councillor Columbus. And then Mayor Luke.
Yes, John, is Dover Coast Boulevard, is that built and engineered to municipal standards?
Yes, it is.
It is? Okay, thanks.
And Mayor Luke.
I have a couple of questions. John, thanks for your deputation. I'm looking at your pretty colored map here, and I'm looking at, you have 2 holes west of Dover Coast Boulevard, and you will eventually end up with 16
On the
to
other
the
side.
north and the east.
Yes.
Or the east, obviously.
Yes.
I see Regatta, and I'm sorry, it's really small, the lettering on these maps, but I think it's Regatta Drive to the west, and your black line on your pretty map, I'll call it that, shows the golf cart going. Does it cross that road? I should know this, I've been up there enough times.
Let's look at we have a video of just a 1 minute that we did a drone shot of the particular one that I think may be of an issue. I don't know if it's too light, but that's the size of our roundabout, by the way. That truck is sort of sitting in the very middle of it. So, and then you see, we'd have the sidewalks built on the one side. We don't have them on the other side. But you can see the gravel on the right-hand side. That's where the sidewalk will go on that side.
On the east side.
On the east side of that. So there we have some movement. We're trying to show some movement there. And there's people crossing. This is a sidewalk crossing there. Okay? Do you see the carts? Okay, now that truck is just going over where the crossing of the golf cart would be. Now there's a golf cart coming across. Okay? They're at 90 degrees. There's no angles. There's nothing. We took that all out. And unfortunately, there's snow there, but we took 2 lots out of each road, so there would be no visible problems with sighting. So we lost 4 lots to make it work properly.
Thank you for that visual, but my question is concerning his relationship to crossing Regatta Drive, getting from Block E to the pond and the hole, the hole to the west. Like,
To put the map on.
it's, how do they get across Regatta?
Regatta?
Regatta Drive.
They don't. They're just a sidewalk across there.
Oh, that's
just a
Regatta
sidewalk.
Drive is
It's got
just a
nothing to do with
sidewalk.
the-
Oh,
that's got nothing to do with
I'm
the
sorry,
golf.
it's not a road.
No,
Oh, when I saw the word drive, I thought maybe it was a
no,
a road.
it's-
No, so
I'm
that's
sorry.
just a sidewalk. The cars.
Regatta will be just a walk,
Thank you.
sidewalk across.
I got it. My apologies. I'm
The
sorry.
golf cart path would be
One more
east
question.
of that,
Uh,
of Regatta.
Yes, one more question for you. I just got this, I guess, a break from Hatch.
Yes.
And so I've just gone through the front page, and I just want to ask a few questions on these, and I apologize that.
Tom, do you want to answer these?
Mr. Chair, thank you. I just
Please
have
come
some
forward, sir.
questions here.
carry on.
Thank you. Your name, sir?
Yes, it's Tom Eichenbaum.
Tom, thank you. I'll go with Tom if that's okay with you.
And if I could just correct my credentials, I'm with Hatch as a principal engineer responsible for transportation municipal infrastructure, but I was the city engineer for the city of Burlington for over 30 years.
Thank you, Mr.
Before
Etchenbaum.
that.
Thank you, Mr. Etchenbaum. And Tom, the couple of questions here. You've got some notes here. It looks like about 7 or 8 here.
Yep.
This section of Dover Coast, where these 2 crosswalks for carts and crosswalks crossing for cars would be posted at 40?
That's what I was led to believe, that was the proposal by the applicant or the proponent. And I think that's appropriate for a collector road that crosses green space or park usage.
It says here there'll be no on-street parking on Dover Coast Boulevard, so I would think that would really help a lot with visibility
Yes, for sure.
of both the golf cart folks, the walkers carrying their bags or pulling their car, whatever, and with the street. Tell me about signs as I'm approaching in an automobile this crosswalk. What's the signage going to be like there? What do you recommend?
Actually, I could add, I think that Norfolk County has done it. I've read the staff report, and I've been through the same sort of experience at the City of Burlington, weighing risk exposure and assessing acts. And truth is, there are situations that the acts and regulations don't always cover. So this is one of those situations where I think it's a bit of a gray zone on interpretation.
Okay.
And as you can see in my letter, overall, based on my experience and our interpretation of the acts, is that it's an acceptable situation given the traffic context, and the collector road there will probably have less than 2,000 vehicles per hour, not a lot of traffic, not that many carts, it's seasonal, good visibility. So a lot of contextual reasons why I think it's a low level of risk for the county, and the county is doing its right thing in assessing its risk exposure. However, also through my own experience, both personally and professionally, as mentioned previously, there are a lot of cities and towns in Ontario that have these crossings on across municipal roads. And from my perspective, a crossing of this nature is really incidental. It's not really usage of the roadway for the carts traveling along the roadway. It's more of an incidental crossing. And I was responsible approving several of these types of crossings in Burlington. Millcroft community has a golf course very similar to this, and we have 3 crossings of collector roads. And it hasn't been an issue. The signage is, there is advance warning signs on the roadways that there's crossings coming up with golfers. And on the approaches from the golf cart paths themselves, there are small stop signs. As you can see on my letter, I'm suggesting better than that.
Yes.
Larger signs, minimum size signs for the golfers crossing ahead, warning signs on the roadway approaches, and slightly larger stop signs than my past experience would have suggested. And crossing lines, as also I noted on your staff report, or in the Ainley letter that was referred to, I believe, that they not be implemented at these incidental crossings, because that leads a false sense of security, the wrong message. So I would not be supportive of that. And then no stopping signs along the roadway, so that nobody stops to pick up anybody, just to make sure that the visibility is as good as possible at these crossings.
Thank you. And Mr. Chair, through you to Tom. Tom, I hadn't turned the page over and I asked about signage. My apologies. The last question I have for you, one of the golf courses that I golfed, I don't know how long it was, in Florida, Fort Myers, it had several, mind you, it was a 36 hole, two courses, but it had a lot of cart paths that constantly crossed streets that were within the condominium. So they probably weren't as wide, the streets, as here, but some of them were pretty good size. So I guess my question is, many of their crosswalks in some areas, especially where visibility wasn't maybe as open as this, they had speed bumps in the road. I'm not a big speed bump fan, by the way, but what do you think of a speed bump on each side of a crosswalk? I'm not saying a large one, but just one that sort of, it does slow traffic down.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on that? And that's it for me, Mr. Chair. Thank you for your...
Through you, Mr. Chair. I was also responsible in Burlington for having raised crosswalks for trails that went across collector roads, not golf cart crossings, but raised crossings is an option because there's really a number of ways you could slow traffic down and make these a little more noticeable, but it's feasible. But I think with the proximity of the roundabout, that's an excellent traffic calming measure in itself. And at the southerly crossing, it's so close to the new Lakeshore Road intersection that I really don't think traffic calming, in addition to those two, really has much merit.
Okay, that's answered my question. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
You're welcome. Councillor Wells, and I don't know whether you wish Mr. Lennox to come back
No,
up.
I do, but I'll speak to this gentleman first, if
Carry
that's all
on.
right with you. You have plenty of experience in development.
Yes.
Have you ever witnessed or known of a developer who takes control of the interior roadway? So it is their road as opposed to the counties, cities, or whatever. Has that ever been a subject that you've been aware of?
Typically for a collector road, no, it becomes a municipal road.
Okay. Thank you. That was my question.
Okay. Did you have anything further for Mr. Lennox right now, Councillor? Okay. I'm going to ask Mr. Lennox to come back up, if you don't mind. And carry on, Councillor, and then I'll go to Councillor Black.
Thank you very much. John, I don't think, certainly you have a problem. And this presents a major problem for you. I understand that. But in your presentation, did I hear you say that you had some customers waiting for their home for 2 years?
We have, when we originally did sales in Phase 2, yes, I do have some people that far out. We have over 60 houses sold. We can't do anything right now.
So this has slowed you down? Is that what you're saying? Or?
Oh, yes. Yes. Big time.
So if you get permission to do this, you'll go gung-ho on building. Am I correct?
If I can get the trades now.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
You're welcome. Councillor Black, please.
Mr. Eichenbaum answered my question about signage.
Okay, good. Thank you. Councillor Columbus.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Question, I guess, for the engineer. Mr.
Sorry, come on back up, Mr. Eichenbaum.
And at this intersection where the golf carts meet the traffic, who actually has the right-of-way in your experience? Is it the golf cart or is it the traffic?
Through you, Mr. Chair. I think it's, as indicated in the letter, I think it's appropriate to have these operate as uncontrolled crossings, which would mean that the vehicles have the right-of-way, and it's the onus is on the golf cart operator or a pedestrian to yield and wait for a safe gap to cross.
Okay, and Mayor Luke asked a number of questions, but what about rumble strips versus those bumps? I'd sooner go over a rumble strip than a bump.
Yeah. Again, I've had those questions over my career too, and I think in a residential environment, I remember one job that we did, it created so much noise and vibration that we took them out. So I think being close to the future, I think it's a retirement home there and so forth. I think that they're noticeable.
I agree with you. It'd probably be less than 60 homes to build if you put the rumble strips in.
Yeah.
Thank you, councillors. I see no further questions for Mr. Lennox then at this point, so we do need to receive his deputation as information. First of all, Councillor Columbus is prepared to move that. Thank you. Those in favor of that recommendation, that is carried. Thank you very much, Mr. Lennox. We can now go to the staff report, which is staff report PW 17-20, mid-block crossings in the Dover Coast Development. Once again, Lee Robinson and staff, we'll look to you.
Certainly. Through the chairman to council, the report was brought forward this evening to you by staff. It was prompted by staff when we realized that we were in a situation where staff do not have the authority to allow development to proceed. We actually rushed this report through in order to assist Mr. Lennox with his timelines. We did bring it forward specifically on a rush matter because we recognized his timelines. When we did some research into this, we spoke with our insurers, our solicitors, and the Ontario Provincial Police, the Norfolk County Detachment of the OPP, who my understanding is they also referred it to one of their offices for another thing. They have advised that under the Highway Traffic Act, golf carts are not permitted on municipal roads. It is not accounted for in an off-road vehicle legislation either. The end result of that is that there is a risk associated with council allowing these golf cart crossings. As such, staff do not have the authority by council to authorize the risk to be taken on behalf of the municipality, and so we've brought forward this report to council this evening so that council can do that. The two recommendations that we have put forward in that are based on the fact that the authors of this report, we are both professional engineers, and as such, we are not in a position where we can make a recommendation to council to allow for something that's not permitted for in the legislation, and that's why those are the only two recommendations that are here before you this evening. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much, Lee, and no doubt there will be some. Councillor Black first.
Well, I guess, personally, I have no problem with this at all. But as an elected official and representing, a large number of people, I am concerned about risk because risk does cost money to the corporation. So my question to staff, to Lee, is there a way that we can mitigate that risk, absolve that risk or place that risk on the developer? Is there some type of an agreement that we can enter into with Mr. Lennox that would absolve Norfolk County of any liability in relationship to golf carts crossing there, accidents, that sort of thing?
Through the chairman to council, no. I think that council has enough experience with the current state of our legal situations and the variety of legal suits that we're currently facing to know that should anything happen on a municipal road, we are named in the lawsuits resulting from that, regardless of what agreements we may or may not have in place. Again, that's why the staff report has been brought forward, because staff do not have the authority to change the risk level that council's willing to take. Well, I guess, we're always named, so then what's the big deal if we're always named? But you made, I think Mr. Eichenbaum referred to low level of risk. Do we know? Do we know the level of risk? Is it low? Through the chairman to council, I'm going to sort of go back to the first part of your statement. The only way that we would not be named is that if we don't own the road, we would not be named in the lawsuit because it would occur on private property. That being said, with respect to low, I don't know how you define low, medium, and high. I know that my definition of low risk may be very different from your definition of low risk, and that's the risk level you're willing to take versus the risk level that I'm willing to take. And so I can't say whether or not it's low or it's high. It could be, we talk about things, it's a 1 in a million chance that it could happen. It could happen tomorrow and be the only time it occurs for the next million years, or it's something that that doesn't happen for a million years. It's a risk decision that council has to be comfortable making if they choose to allow the crossings.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. I have no further speakers other than Councillor Wells and then Sonnenberg.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, just a question to Lee. What would happen if we didn't own the road? Could we divest ourselves of ownership of that road?
Through the chairman to council, the original approval for the subdivision that Mr. Lennox was referring to, that was subject to the OMB, et cetera, lists the road as a street. It does not say it's a municipal street, it just says that it's a street. There is zero mention through that development, through that OMB decision about the ownership of the road. So I would contend that the ownership of the road is still able to not be accepted by the municipality. We would require an easement over the road because there is municipal infrastructure, and through a variety of ministry requirements with respect to drinking water and sanitary sewer, we do need to maintain ownership of some of the infrastructure that is in the road. Again, at the end of the day, I can't speak to what a judge would do in court, but that would, I would say, would reduce our risk of being involved in a lawsuit should something happen.
You're welcome. Councillor Sonnenberg, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Lee, are you familiar with the golf course between Simcoe and Waterford on Culver Road?
I certainly am.
Are carts allowed across Culver Road?
Carts cross Culver Road. I do not know whether or not they're allowed to cross Culver Road.
So why isn't there a SWAT team there ready to descend on somebody who crosses the road if you say the police don't?
No, it is not permitted under the Highway Traffic Act.
Right.
Should the OPP enforces the Highway Traffic Act. How they choose to enforce that act is up to them, and it's not up to us. We're not concerned so much with the fact that whether or not the OPP would be ticketing people. We are more concerned with the liability associated with knowing we shouldn't have those crossings because the vehicles are not permitted and council permitting it. That's the risk that council is assuming. If something happens, we could be named in a lawsuit similar to any of the other lawsuits that we have in our municipality today, which is why we've brought it forward, because that's a level of risk for council to decide whether or not they wish to take that risk.
I think we ought to lighten up a little bit around here.
Councillor, you raised a good point, and some of us, I think, in fairness, Mr. Lennox, we maybe didn't have a chance to flip through and look at all of the examples that were cited. And as someone who has, I guess, broken the law crossing over Culver Road many times at Springview Farm Golf Course, to me, that situation there is probably far riskier than what's being proposed in Port Dover. Further speakers, Mayor Luke.
For debate time?
Certainly am.
Oh, I knew you would be, Mr. Chair. I would like to move this recommendation, if I may, first of all, that the staff report, PW 1720, be received as information, and that mid-block crossings be permitted within the municipal right-of-way of the proposed Dover Coast Boulevard. And I just want to speak on it and say two things. Number one, I believe that this developer and the people using this, I think the developer will do everything possible to put the proper signage. The sidewalks, I was down last week and looked at this situation. The sidewalks are 10, 12, 15 feet back from the curb. There's no trees planted along here. I don't think there will be. I don't know. There'll be some. It's wide open. The golf carts, in many times, go along the edge of the road. Well, not the edge, but they go parallel to the road, and then they make a complete 90 degrees so that they will face perpendicular the roads to cross them, which gives you good view both ways, safest way. So I believe that the developer will put the proper signage up and do what needs to be done to make this safe. I did go through, I don't know who provided these views of the golf course, thank you. I looked through them, there's 13 here. Many of them I can't afford to play or they wouldn't let me on even if I could, but 6 of these I have actually played that are in this package, and I have taken a golf cart across the road. I don't know, all kinds of people take things across the road that they shouldn't be. And I think that this is an adult community, living community, and I just can't fathom having a golf course where I've got to stop my cart, get out of it, take the bag off, take all my possessions, carry my stuff across the road, load it onto another cart, and then away we go for the other 16 holes. So I feel very comfortable with this situation. If I didn't, I wouldn't be supporting it. And I have, along with you, broken the law, and it'll be continued if that's breaking the law, crossing to get Springview to the 6 holes to the east. I've probably done it maybe a couple dozen times, but boy, I look both